Okay, here briefly at the end of chapter 5, we're going to talk a little bit about viruses and human health. So this is a diagram that I found which gives you an overview of major viral infections that occur in humans. And also take a look at table 5.5 in your textbook for an overview. There are many, many, many different types of viruses that cause infections in humans. And fortunately, most of them are fairly, you become infected with the virus, makes you sick for a while. Your immune system reacts and takes care of it, and then you get better. But as you guys know, there are some viruses out there that are downright nasty. In the last year, we had the Ebola virus outbreak in the news, and so viruses can run the whole spectrum from. We undoubtedly have many viral infections during our lifetime that we never even know about because we don't have any symptoms, all the way to horrible things like rabies and Ebola virus. So this is just showing you this diagram, different body systems and different areas of the body and viruses that are known to cause infections in those particular areas. So that's something you want to take a look at. And then I did want to talk a little bit about the Inside the Clinic article on shingles at the end of chapter 5 that I'm having you guys read, because we hear about shingles all the time. And shingles, many of you guys probably already know that this is associated with chicken pox. And chicken pox is actually, the chicken pox virus is a type of herpes virus, which we talked about on one of the viral replication videos, sometimes called varicella zoster. And so when you get infected with the chickenpox virus, what happens is some of the chickenpox viruses enter into spinal nerves or cranial nerves, like your trigeminal nerve or facial nerve that you learn about in biology 201. So they enter into sensory neurons. If you guys remember, your sensory neurons, the cell bodies of those sensory neurons, this should look familiar if you've had biology 201. That's the cross section of the spinal cord, and this is a spinal nerve over here and over here, and you've got a dorsal root and a ventral root of that spinal nerve, and your sensory neurons, their axons extend all the way out from the skin, muscle area, etc., all the way through the nerve up here toward the spinal cord, and then the cell body of a sensory neuron is sitting there. That's called the dorsal root ganglion. And so when you get chicken pox, some of those chicken pox viruses enter sensory neurons, and the DNA winds up persisting inside the cell body of sensory neurons close to the spinal cord or close to the brain if the viruses enter sensory neurons that are associated with your cranial nerves rather than spinal nerves. Okay, so if you've had chicken pox during your lifetime, you probably have some of these dormant or latent chicken pox viruses. The DNA of those viruses are persisting in the cell bodies of your sensory neurons. And then, as you get older, for some reason, if your immune system is weakened for any reason, things like stress can reactivate those viruses that are in your sensory neurons. And instead of the DNA sitting there and being dormant, now the genes of the herpes varicella zoster virus get expressed again. You start making these viruses again, and they travel back down the nerves, and they come out, and then they infect the skin around the area of skin that was served by that particular spinal nerve. And so then you have this outbreak, and shingles, you have a red rash with blisters, and it tends to be extremely painful. Most people who've had it say the pain is almost indescribable. So not something fun to have. So now where you get it depends on where did it get activated. So if it got activated in a cell body of a sensory neuron that's sitting up here near the spinal cord, those viruses are going to travel down the axon of that neuron, and they're going to be released onto a patch of skin. And you can get some spreading with that away from the initial site as well. So sometimes people will get pretty big, widespread rashes. Also, you might simultaneously have more than one dormant version of the virus and more than one sensory neuron somewhere becoming activated. So that's called shingles when that happens. And again, you probably realize that as people get older, they're more likely to get shingles, and that's because your immune system is getting weaker. So probably what's going on is most of us who've had chickenpox during our lifetime, we probably have some reactivation of the chickenpox viruses that occurs from time to time, but your immune system beats it down, and so you never develop the shingles. Those reactivated viruses are taken care of by your immune system before you even are aware that anything happened. As you get older and your immune system gets weaker, it's more likely that those reactivated viruses are going to be able to cause a nasty infection with the rash and the painful blistering that's associated with that. But for any reason that you have immune system depression, your immune system is weaker, that would include pregnancy, for example, you're at a greater risk of developing the shingles. We do have a vaccine for shingles that's available, so that's recommended for older people. It's not 100% effective, but it's the idea there is just to kind of beef up your immunity against this virus, so that if these shingles viruses do get activated, your immune system has a better chance of knocking those down and wiping them out before they cause you any kind of serious problem. So it's not 100% effective, but probably a pretty good chance, even if you did get the shingles, if you've been vaccinated, then maybe that outbreak of shingles is not going to be quite as strong because your immune system has been beefed up and it's going to be able to take care of the shingles virus a little bit faster than if you hadn't had the vaccine. So probably a good idea for older people to get that if they have not had it. All right, and as we get toward the end of the semester, I'm going to have you guys do some work on infectious diseases, and so you may choose to do some research on viral illnesses of some type as we move toward the end of the semester and get into that last section of the book where lots of different infectious diseases are described. So don't think we've heard the last of the viruses in this course. They will be coming up quite a bit again as we move through the end of the semester. So good luck with your studying of chapters 8 and 5, and as always, please use the discussion board to post any questions you might have about the material if you need clarification.